The Oklahoma City Thunder have become the target of many jokes recently, as it's hard to find a team that's been more committed to the future than they have. Over the next 7 years, the Thunder own 36 total draft picks, making this one of the most interesting rebuilds in NBA history. OKC will have the ability to move up in drafts or trade for a superstar that becomes available, and their own picks should be pretty high up in the lottery as well. There's lots of excitement surrounding this team because they have so many options going forward, but the current state of their roster is just as intriguing. The Thunder have a future star on their hands in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, they just drafted a 6'8" point guard in Josh Giddy, and they have a few more young players on their team with incredible potential. The Oklahoma City Thunder are a franchise with their eyes set on the future, but in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the current pieces that they have, what strides I expect them to take next year, and where I ultimately have them finishing in the standings.
Murray, inside, incredible! They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry!
In Game 1, I expect the Thunder to start Josh Giddy alongside Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in the backcourt. The most noticeable difference between this year's opening day roster and last is the lack of veterans on this team. Derek Favors and Kenrich Williams are the only notable veterans on this team, and this speaks to the fact that OKC isn't looking to win now. Last season, the Thunder were pretty respectable through the first few months, posting a 17-22 record after 39 games. One of the main reasons for this is that OKC was giving significant minutes to players like George Hill and Al Horford, two veterans that were really helping the Thunder win games. As a result, the Thunder shipped off Hill to Philadelphia and shut down Horford after he appeared in just 28 games. By virtue of having a young, developing roster, the Thunder are more likely to have a bad record this season, which will give them a good pick in next year's draft. Even though OKC is a rebuilding team, they have the most valuable thing a franchise in their situation can ask for, and that's a young star to build around. A little less than 2 months ago, the Thunder agreed to a 5-year, $172 million contract with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Last year, Shai got the chance to be the number one option, and he showed out. In 35 appearances, Shai averaged 23.7 points, 4.7 rebounds, and 5.9 assists, and he did so on great efficiency. What I like most about Shai is that he plays at his own pace. He doesn't have elite athleticism or quickness, but he has a very shifty handle, he takes long strides when he's driving to the rim, and he contorts his body in a way that protects his layups from defenders. At just 23 years old, Shai is already an elite scorer, but teams have been able to give him trouble by forcing him to be a passer. Without a doubt, the biggest weakness in Shai's game is his passing. There are plenty of instances where he'll miss an open cutter, spot-up shooter, or someone rolling to the rim, and that hurts the team. Shai did average a career-high 5.9 assists last season, but he also averaged a career high of 3 turnovers per game as well. While his assist stats are a little deceiving, it would be unfair to gloss over the improvements he has made as a passer. While he does need to get better at making quicker reads, Shai did make better decisions when driving to the rim last year. When defenders helped off their man, Shai was able to make the pass to the open player. He was also better at making kickout passes when his shot wasn't there, which resulted in more efficient shots for the team. In the past, Shai would be too indecisive in these situations, and it would either result in a bad pass or a forced shot attempt. Shai is already an elite scorer, he's a good defender, and I expect him to improve as a passer over the years. While I think Shai can become a good passer, I don't anticipate him becoming an elite one, which is likely why the Thunder drafted Josh Giddy number 6 overall. Josh Giddy is a 6'8" point guard that played in the NBL prior to being selected by OKC. With the NBA shifting towards a more positionless game, it shouldn't be a surprise that a 6'8" player with arguably the best passing skills in his class was so highly coveted. Besides his passing, which I really like, I'm also impressed with the maturity and poise that Giddy plays with. He seems to know his strengths and weaknesses, and because of that, he rarely forces the issue. For example, Giddy's handle is not perfect, as he can be too upright with the ball in his hands, but the way he reads his defender makes up for it. Giddy is great at baiting defenders into thinking he's going one way before he quickly goes in the other direction. This helps him shake off defenders that are playing him too close, and allows him to get into the lane where he can put his passing abilities to use. Giddy also makes the right reads in pick and roll situations, consistently dropping off nice passes to the roller or showing off nice patience before making a decision. The pick and roll is used so much in the NBA, and the fact that Giddy is so good in these situations is helpful for Shai, because Giddy can take some pressure off Shai while his passing ability is still developing. Giddy is also a great transition player as he's able to recognize the open man down court, and his long strides allow him to cover ground quickly in the open floor. Where he really stands out though is as a distributor to three-point shooters. At 6'8", Giddy can scan the floor very well, and he's consistently able to deliver accurate passers to shooters, whether he's driving and kicking, passing to someone coming off a screen, or finding an open man for a transition three. Giddy is capable of making all these passes. His passing will help out guys trying to improve their shot, like Dort, Darius, Baisley, and Pokashevsky, because he will get them better looks off of his penetration, and he will get them the ball in their shooting pockets. He'll also be a big help to Shai because he will take pressure off of him, and he'll set up Shai for a lot of easy buckets as well. I think the Thunder were looking at the way the Suns built a team around Devin Booker when they decided to select Giddy. Early on in his career, Booker had to create everything in the Suns' offense, and Phoenix was not winning games. However, when they got Ricky Rubio for the 2019-2020 season, Booker made his first All-Star appearance, shot a career high from the field, and the Suns had their best record in years. In the following season, Phoenix traded for Chris Paul, and the fit between he and Booker became so good by the end of the season that they advanced all the way to the finals. I'm not comparing Giddy to either of these players. All I'm saying is that like Booker, Shai will benefit from playing next to a pass-first point guard in Josh Giddy. Unfortunately, passing is by far Giddy's best skill, as nearly everything else in his game is average or below average. Giddy is a very smart player that reads the floor and his own defender quite well, but he will need to tighten his handle up. I did show clips of him getting by defenders with some nice change of pace, change of direction moves, but I don't know if he's going to be able to shake off or blow by defenders as easily in the NBA. On top of that, Giddy may not be able to regularly finish at the rim. He's pretty good at getting to the rim with his long strides, and he did show off some nice finishing ability in the NBL, but even with that being the case, Giddy is not a great jumper by NBA standards, and the moments of struggle he had in the NBL will only occur more in the NBA. While his finishing at the rim may be a problem, his jump shot is the biggest thing he needs to fix. Last season, Giddy shot 29.3% from 3 and 69.1% from the free throw line. When I watched film on him, the biggest thing that stuck out to me was the lack of arc he puts on his shot. Giddy's jumper is relatively flat, and that can be seen in these clips. Giddy had a lot of misses that I would consider bad misses. A bad miss is when the shot has no realistic chance of going in, and the way the ball bounces off the rim shows that. Many of Giddy's shots are either way too short or way too strong, and the fact that he doesn't put much arc on them only makes things worse. In the mid-range, things aren't much different, as Giddy's lack of touch is even more apparent on these types of shots. His shooting form will also need work as it's very stiff and slow at the moment, so the shooting coaches in OKC will have to spend a lot of time with Giddy over the years. On the defensive end, Giddy has shown some flashes as an off-ball defender. After all, he is 6'8" and has a 6'8" wingspan, so he will make some nice defensive plays just by virtue of being tall and lengthy. I'm not too worried about his inconsistent defensive play because he's only 18 years old and his defensive IQ should improve with more experience, and even though he's not quick enough to be a great on-ball defender, his effort on that end should make him passable, and being that he's 6'8", Giddy is someone that OKC could hide on defense. As I mentioned earlier, Shai is a good defender that can defend other teams' guards, and Dort could step in for Giddy and defend the other guard on any given night. Dort isn't an extremely tall or long player, but his combination of strength and effort makes him a tough player to score on. Dort is quick enough to stay in front of guards, and strong enough to defend bigger, more physical forwards, and this versatility has made him OKC's #1 defender. Dort still has a ways to go on the offensive end, but he did improve last year. As a three-point shooter, Dort shot nearly 5% better than he did during his rookie year. He showed off some nice Euro steps and left-handed finishes around the bucket, and he had a few explosive scoring nights. In April, Dort averaged 24.4 points on great efficiency, and in that month he had a 42-point game against Utah. He scored 21 points in a quarter against the Raptors, and he had a 26-point performance against Detroit as well. Dort is still relatively inefficient, but he's already one of the game's best perimeter defenders. He's an improving offensive player, and the Thunder should be happy to have him. The Thunder also have a few raw prospects with high potential, the two that stand out the most being Darius Baisley and Alexei Pokashevsky. Baisley is 6'9", athletic, and has a 7-foot wingspan, which has made him a versatile defender so far in his young career. He's quick on his feet, makes good contests, and he can get in passing lanes too. In Poku's case, he has a lot of room for improvement on defense, but he has shown flashes on the offensive end. Poku was inefficient during his first season, but he shows signs of being a 7-footer that can shoot, put the ball on the floor, and make plays for others. Baisley has also shot poorly from the field in his career, but he's a great athlete with a pretty good handle. Some other young players in the rotation include Teo Maladon, Ty Jerome, Trey Mann, Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, and Isaiah Roby. Out of those 5, the player I'm the most high on is Teo Maladon. Maladon stands at 6'5" and has a 6'9" wingspan, which makes him dynamic on defense, while his patience and IQ make him a good floor general on offense. Maladon had a positive assist-to-turnover ratio as a 19-year-old rookie, which was quite impressive, and he also showed off some nice shooting ability on top of that. Maladon shot a respectable 33.5% from 3 in his first season, but I expect that number to improve because his shot looks good. Maladon was a steal for the Thunder, and I'm excited to see how he plays next to both Josh Giddy and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander this year. While this team does have some pretty good defensive players, they aren't dynamic enough offensively to compete for a playoff spot. Guys like Giddy, Dort, Baisley, and Pokashevsky are pretty raw on the offensive end, so as a result, OKC will be very dependent on Shai for at least this season. When you combine that with the fact that OKC is willing to shut down veterans, trade vets for picks, and take the cautious route when handling their young players' injuries, it's safe to say that the Thunder aren't concerned with winning right now. With that being the case, I have the Thunder finishing 15th in the West, but I love the direction of this team. They already have a young star, they're adapting to the modern NBA by bringing in players that can play positionless basketball, and they've stockpiled a ton of picks over the next 7 years. The Thunder may be at the bottom of my standings this year, but I expect them to be near the top of the West in the next few seasons. Anyways, that's going to be the end of today's video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. And with all that being said, I'm out, and I'll see you in the next video.